them the enemy. I mean, they weren't the cause. Who was the cause? It was us. I mean, if there is a problem, it is our fault because we were stupid enough to buy it. And not all of us bought it, and so some of us say, well, I wasn't, but it doesn't matter because there were plenty of people who were. And as time's moving on, people are starting to see that, there seems to have been somewhat of a sham going on. I mean, there was some part of a game that occurred. And how far that goes, I mean, that's arguable. But yeah, I've gone through just about everything. Fritz Springmeier, I've gone through all of Creditors in Commerce. I've seen all of that and heard that back when it was free. Now I believe you have to pay for it, but back then it was actually freely available. Which talks about how you're a fiction, your corporation, and in the business world, that's what they're working with. It has nothing to do with you and all that stuff. And that stuff all does pan out. It makes sense. I mean, if you use the other system, you view it as you, law doesn't quite make sense. But if you view it from that perspective, it makes sense. The etymology of words and how we came, you are a corporation, as some of them say, and what do you become when you die? You become a corpse. What is, we're viewed as everything that we do is business, busyness, it's something to keep us distracted. Now, to what extent do you want to take that? Do you want to sit there and say, oh, well, that's literally what it was. It was just to keep you not paying attention. Maybe. I don't know. It's possible, but I'm not gonna sit there and stake my claim on it and say, oh, that's what it was. I do think that people aren't paying attention enough. That seems to be one of the biggest problems, is people are not paying attention. They're not listening to what's going on. And if the world that's being created is something that everyone wants, then fine. Okay? I have my disagreements on some things, but you probably have yours and yours. But if that's what everyone wants, then fine. Okay? But I don't think it's been a logical decision that most people have come to. Most people they don't have time to look at the stuff. They don't have time to really think about it and analyze it. The closest they get is they watch the news, they watch, their little documentaries every once in a while, maybe on History Channel or something, if so happens. But for the most part, they're watching Supernatural or, Buffy or who knows what. And that's fine. But you need to have time to pay attention to what's going on in the world, because if you leave it to the hands of other people without you actually standing up and paying attention, at least acknowledging what's going on, you can't argue on what's occurring. It's like that old argument where people always would say, if you don't vote, you don't have the right to bitch about who the president is. Generally, I don't vote. I'm as straightforward with it. I don't vote. Because I don't see either side as being any better. I mean, it's not like, oh, well, this one's good and this one's not. I mean, for me, it's kind of like, whatever. It doesn't matter either way, I lose. I don't think either of them are going to make a difference in what I think should be done, and I don't know enough, so maybe I'm wrong, but I at least paid attention. I mean, I know what they're doing, I know what they're saying, I know what's going on, to what extent, because I'm paying attention to what they say. And it's really funny because people, they'll make statements, and then I'll come out to other people and I'll say, hey, did you notice that this person made this statement? And they'll go, oh no, they didn't mean that, oh, that's not it, and it was like straightforward. I mean, it was like George Bush Jr. when he created the NAU, which has already gone through, it's in the papers and all that North America's gone, we're a North American Union now. on paper. I mean, it hasn't been publicly acknowledged fully, but on paper it's done. The business side of it's done. Now it's just about getting people to acknowledge it, which is what we're building to. Because we had a European Union, we have, the African Union or whatever it is, and yeah, there's the North American Union, and it'll slide right in. People won't even notice. They won't have a problem with it once it occurs. It'll probably be after the catastrophe of some form that'll make people go, whoa, you know, it'll probably be an economical collapse, which seems to be where we're leading. It's quite obvious. I mean, if you watch any news, you know that's coming. And it's going to collapse, and I would say that's what they're going to pull out. They're going to say, hey, well, we no longer can be the United States, the corporation's dead, or that entity's dead, but we're going to have the North American Union, we're all united, and the purpose of this is to make sure this never ever happens again. We're going to have an economic system that's world governed instead of, broken up into separate sections that makes them susceptible to collapse. It'll be unified, and so we're all under the same thing. And that'll be what'll occur, and people just don't seem to be aware of those things, and I worry about those kind of people. Why aren't you noticing? I mean, even these things like the economic collapse. I mean, acknowledge the fact that it's collapsing. Acknowledge the fact of your dollar. I mean, there's plenty of information out there. There's no reason for you to have not seen it. The only excuse I ever get is I don't have time, as they sit there and spend 6 hours staring at their TV after work. But I don't want to study after work. I wanna, have fun. Maybe that's the advantage I have. I have fun in learning about how things really are, and maybe that makes me weird on it, but I enjoy that part, and maybe it's my job to give snippets. I don't know. I mean, I think there's plenty of people out there doing it. You don't need me doing it, but if that's needed, then so be it. I'll give you some. But as you can tell, I've studied a ton of areas. I've studied magic. I've studied mysticism. One of my major passions was always ceremonial magic, and then I always found it very intriguing, and the depth and how intelligent the people actually were who worked with it were very intriguing. That entire top shelf over there is actually all magic orientated. Halfway down on the next shelf is magic orientated. Then we start to go into religious. Almost all of that is religious. There's a section in front there that is Stitchin. I've read all of Stitchin. You go down again, it's more biblical. The Zohar collection that's been released thus far, Forbidden Archaeology, Urantia. Then we have a little more magic, the Keys of Solomon and that. Then you go down to the bottom, you got the Divine Pymander and the Encyclopedia of Science, the Encyclopedias of Mythology. Then we go into like the Alphabet That Changed the World by Stan Stennon, something like that, which talks about the Hebrew language and how it's all formulated and how it seems to have references. Then after that, you hit a little magic, you get a little of Tex Mars, magic, and codices. Down below, I have the Universal Seduction series, which is just kind of all of random UFO type of stories and all that kind of stuff. We have the Voyager series, which is by Ashanti something. I don't remember exactly, but her name. But it's interesting. It's very weird, but it is very in depth. I mean, I have to say, if she's lying, she's come up with quite a system. I mean, it's quite intriguing. Then you go into the H.P. Blavatsky, the ISIS Unveiled and the Secret Doctrines. Down at the bottom there, we've got Manly P. Hall, Secret of All Ages. Some rarer texts and mythologies of the gods, or